Alright guys, we're keeping the videos flowing today. This should be out either Tuesday or Wednesday, would be my guess this week. So right on the verge of Thanksgiving, but we do want to talk about two moves we saw last week that weren't able to be on the pod because they came out on Friday. So quickly just going to look at two coaching carousel movements. One is bringing back an old friend into, I guess, another market that he'd previously been in, and then the other one is just a simple re-sign. We'll talk to re-sign first, and that is Jared Edmondson back in Brockton/New England. He did improve last year. The record is hard to really judge off of, to be quite honest, because he did play in the more difficult of the Eastern League, or Eastern divisions, which are really Atlantic divisions, but we're not going to talk about the frustrating system that is the Frontier League division setup. So it was a little bit tougher to gauge here. He did have Ottawa in there. He obviously had Quebec that he had to deal with a lot. And then I also had to deal with Tri-City. So some really tough teams in there. Really, only Three Rivers was a day off kind of game. And even then, they gave him some fits, if I recall correctly, there, as opposed to on the flip side where you had New York and technically Sussex both making the postseason, but neither of them were consistent throughout the year for various reasons. And then New Jersey, that was just kind of a mess. And then down east, that was trying to find their footing in their first year. So it's really hard to kind of judge the record there. And then year one was kind of a mess as well. Obviously, with New England having a bunch of up and down bit, it's not the most stable situation up there. So it's hard to judge him. I didn't love the hire when it was first made a couple years ago. I still don't love retaining him. I do think they could have possibly gotten somebody else in there. However, if they're confident with the guy they have, then they're confident with the guy they have. And I'm never going to say, don't follow your gut if you think you can get, more out of the guy. And there has been improvement there. So it's not like a Lamar Rogers situation in Gary where it really was never improving. It was more getting worse or more discouraging over time. So don't really have too strong of an opinion there. I'm curious to see if he stays the whole length of that contract or if he gets a third contract. I'd be surprised if he did, but who knows? Maybe if they have a big breakout season this year and, they've shake things up for the better. Flip side, we go to the other move that I want to talk about here. And we're going to take a little bit more time to talk about, and that is our old friend Bobby Jones back in the Frontier League, obviously known for his time in Sussex County, obviously known for those nice feuds he had with Tri-City, mainly Pete and Cavilla. And then he was with New Jersey for a little bit there in a general manager capacity, more of a front office role for that initial run to Patterson. So now he'll be back in the dugout for the Jackals here. As a straight up managerial move, he is an improvement. No slight to Bert. We love Bert around here, but he wasn't given a full deck and he was a first year manager. That's always going to be a rough sledding there. And then obviously the Jackals situation had a lot more going on behind the scenes. So that situation played itself out. Bobby can work in dysfunction a little bit here. However, sometimes Bobby is the dysfunction. So it is kind of an interesting call to bring him into that situation where you would think you'd want more stable leadership, stable management. And it does kind of feel like the new owners over in New Jersey in Baye, he kind of looked and said, I want a guy that's done this before. I want a guy that's kind of reliable. I want a guy that, has had success before. And Bobby's definitely that guy. He's had success before. He's done it before and he knows what he's doing. It's just, there's so much more that comes around with Bobby than just the on the field talent. So I'm kind of surprised they went that direction on it, to be quite honest here. But then again, there's probably not too many guys lining up to take the New Jersey job either. So that's something else you have to balance in all of this. So I do kind of expect New Jersey to bounce back a little bit. Bobby does have his guys. He's going to bring guys in there and he's going to likely improve. And as of right now, it's going to be an interesting division here. You have to assume down east improves, although I don't know where they're going to get their pieces in at. You have to assume that Sussex County is building off of what they've done the last few years. I like that management group over there. I think they had some real success this past year before injuries dragged them down, but they were fighting for quite some time to the very end there. And then, you obviously still have New York in there as well, who, did about as well as he could against Quebec and did get hot to get in at the very end there. And again, they had some injury problems too. It wasn't the best constructed roster, and I think even TJ knows that, so it'll be interesting to see what changes get made there. But that division got a lot more interesting with this move, and really, I'm curious to see if they can keep it all in-house, or if this starts to, burn the house down, so to speak. But, it'll be something to watch out for. Carousel is still spitting and still staying interesting, so we'll see how it goes. More discussion on these moves and more on the podcast this week. But until next time, don't forget to play ball.